Hey gang, Schlocktoberfest seems like it's gonna be put into something, I just don't know what, with a review of the movie Stuff Stephanie in the Incinerator. It starts off with an airplane mechanic who gets beaten up by a couple of thugs, and he's taken to a mansion where a woman named Roberta is basically trying to get Paul to sleep with her daughter named Stephanie. But there's a catch. Roberta gets to watch. Ugh. So Paul tries to convince Stephanie to get out of the mansion and everything like that because he believes that Roberta is some kind of a nutcase, and well, it's pretty obvious she is. So they try to escape, and they wind up down in a basement. The next morning, Roberta catches them laying together, and then Roberta tells Paul that she wants him to sleep with her, or Stephanie is going to be put into an Iron Maiden and killed. Paul agrees, goes to kiss Roberta, but it turns out the whole thing was staged. Roberta was really a guy. So they sit around, laugh, have a good time about the whole thing. And then Paul, whose real name in the movie is actually Jared, decides he wants to kind of step things up a notch and do it all over again. Of course, Stephanie, whose real name in this movie is Casey, doesn't want to keep doing this because she's getting kind of bored with it, and well, she's afraid that something might happen to where she gets stuck in another Iron Maiden or something worse, something bad could happen. So Robert takes off to the airport, but then as things kind of get a little crazy, Robert decides to go back to the mansion and try and rob it because some guy at the gymnasium decides to kind of have him do it. So he goes back to the mansion, tries to rob it, and Casey catches him. They make a deal to where, well, they'll try to kill off Paul Jared in about 7 years, and yeah. So Robert and Casey sleep together, and Paul Jared kind of goes a little nuts over it. So he decides he wants to have a little hunting expedition. So he chases them all over the house, and, well, long story short, Paul Jared, Casey Stephanie, and Robert Roberta all die. But then even that turned out to be, that was all a ploy too. Yeah, it was all recorded and put on 3 different videotapes. In fact, this whole movie was pretty much nothing more than just a bunch of rich people playing out some sort of weird play. So Casey Stephanie gets in her car and drives off. Robert gets a ride to the airport. And Jared and this guy named Nick, who was supposed to be a mechanic in the movie, well, yeah, he was in on it too. They wind up bickering like an old married couple in the back of the limousine. And one of the butlers, who was in on the whole thing too, who was also supposed to be one of the thugs who beat up Paul Jared, turns the camera and says something like, the whole world is a stage and everybody must play a part. So why did this movie suck? This movie had more twists and turns that made absolutely no sense and were so irritating. And the worst part is, nobody got stuffed inside of an incinerator. Nick almost did, because Nick was beaten to death, supposed to be Paul, and yeah. This movie was labeled a horror comedy. Well, I can tell you 2 things is wrong with that statement. It was not a horror movie, and it really wasn't much of a comedy either. This movie was a complete disappointment. Honestly, I think even M. Night Sunflower couldn't have come up with a better twist ending than this movie had, and the twist ending was just really, really irritating. I really didn't like this movie very much. And the weird thing is, it's a trauma movie, but yet there was not really any gore. It's pretty much not one of those movies you expect to see at a trauma. I don't know if they just got this movie, slapped another title on it, and tried to hopefully maybe think it was going to sell or something, or maybe this movie was done under a different title, But they said, throw this one on here because you know what? It's a trauma movie and nobody's going to believe we can do a straight movie where nobody really actually dies and it's not that gory. One review on it said it was a terrible movie, but wait for the ending because it's all worth it. I waited for the ending. It wasn't worth it. But there you guys have it. A review of Stuff Stephanie in the Incinerator. If you like my videos, feel free to subscribe. If you have a horror, sci-fi horror, comedy horror, fantasy horror movie that had a title that sounded interesting and the movie turned out wasn't, send it my way and I'll get on it ASAP. Thank you guys so very, very much for watching, and I'll be here tomorrow for more Schlocktoberfest. And until then, as always, stay strong and rock on.